First things first, Tim. Do you have a update? Do you want to do an update on what went down this weekend?
Yeah, we could do an update on what went down this weekend. Yeah.
Because you had a good
Yep.
table of stuff, and I'm gonna put the images
Yeah.
up on Twitter. I'll have them up on Twitter next week for sure.
Okay.
As the podcast drops, or I should say, this week as the podcast drops. I'm gonna post them up
Yeah.
there because you had a good crappie flop picture that I
Good,
want to put
yeah.
up.
Yeah. Caught one flopping in action. Like LeBron. Got you, sucker.
Got you good.
Yeah. That's what you get. No, I should say, like most of the NBA. I got you. I like basketball, but man, I'm getting sick of that shit. Anyways, so yeah, this weekend went really well. Boat was back in order. Ended up being a water pump, just not throwing up proper codes or whatever. So that got fixed.
That's
Everything seems to be working fine.
Good.
Got out there. Crappies were still up shallow.
Nice.
The water was warming up. It was like 62 degrees.
Okay.
So last the weekend of fishing opener, the water was only 49.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say.
it was actually a little bit on the cold end of like the crappies were moving up, but they hadn't started spawning yet. Last weekend was probably amazing, and then the weekend that we just passed, the fish were still up, but it was they weren't as thick as they could be. So I'm sure some of them were already done.
Someone were,
and with the ones that I filleted out, there was only 2 of the 21 that we kept between the 2 days that had eggs, which is a little bit unusual this time of year.
Right.
Because a lot of them seem to have eggs when I catch them. But also, I don't know how to tell the difference between males and females, except for when I fillet them and I go, oh, these ones have eggs.
Right. They squirt out eggs on your hand.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
No, they never actually squirt out these ones. They're always like, it has like a roe sack on the inside.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not like a salmon where like you can caress it and they just start shooting them out like little pearls.
I've definitely had Sunnies do that though, or something to that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely possible that these ones could too.
They you don't have it happen to you, it seems.
Yeah, and to try to save time, I use like an electric fillet knife. I have a Mr. Twister, old school electric fillet knife, which is the cheapest option out there. It requires an extension cord, but it works pretty damn well, and it's a fraction of the price compared to the lithium ion ones. I'm not shitting on the lithium ion ones. I would get the lithium ion ones in a heartbeat,
right? If
I had some extra money laying around. But so I fillet all them, and I think I don't really have to put any pressure on the fish because the knife's doing the work.
Right.
So maybe if I put my hand down on that fish, I would be shooting some out.
Right. I got you.
But yeah, so we went back, catching the crappies up shallow. And then one of the fun things that I was telling you about, and I forgot to take a picture of it, and I was kicking myself after I dropped it in the water. I was like, damn, I should have grabbed my phone real quick because I was like, that's crazy. And then just released the fish. But what happened was we were actually doing really well, and I got a scoop of crappie minnows and a scoop of fatheads. And I didn't know what the day was going to hold. So we went out and we killed the crappies the first day. And then I was like, oh, we should go up to the station and grab another scoop of crappie minnows. Completely sold out. They had no crappie minnows. They didn't know when they were going to get more back in. Yeah. So clearly the crappie spawn was still on. Probably not just there.
Right.
But other lakes, I'm sure, were in the same boat. So if they have crappies, everybody's fishing for crappies out there. So we only had fatheads. And the fatheads, if they're smaller, on the smaller side, they still worked. But at a certain point, you're getting too big for these crappies to eat because we weren't catching monsters. We were catching good-sized crappies. So I had already talked to you a little bit about how I thought drop shotting with the Z-Man micro finesse baits would work. that might not be the bait. When I was telling everybody about how I was excited, I forgot how buoyant uh the Z-Man baits are. So it wants to float up a little bit, so it doesn't swim real good. And when you
Oh,
try to drop it, it doesn't fall. So maybe not for that, but for the Ned rig, definitely, because that's going to want to stand up when it's on the bottom instead of lay down.
ah,
But that was the problem where I have it on the drop shot. The hook is just kind of suspended here, and it wanted to kind of like float up
okay.
instead of swim naturally. So, anyways, I did have the Z-Man bait on, and I was trying it out, and I caught a crappie, and I'm like, okay, that works. And I was catching a lot of
Hmm.
rock bass. For whatever reason, that thing was like drawing out the rock bass. They were just coming out of the woodworks, man. I was catching rock bass
Interesting.
after rock bass on that thing.
Huh.
But then I caught like a 2.5 pound largemouth.
Oh,
And these micro finesse, I mean, are with the little tail that it has on there, are maybe an inch long.
right. Okay. Yeah.
And that's why
Because
I
you were
was
doing
like,
the hand
damn.
thing to the camera, so
Yeah,
I'm watching the
yeah,
whole time, and I'm like, that's like not even an inch. Maybe it's an inch.
yeah,
Like, whoa.
yeah. So that's why I was like, I should have taken a picture because in its mouth, it looked like just like a little crumb in the side. And I was like, damn, I should have got a picture of that. Like, that's crazy to, I know that sometimes the smaller baits, but like,
Hmm.
if ever you wondered like how much of an opportunistic feeder largemouth bass truly are, like it just happened to be swimming by that little thing that was kind of dancing, and it was like,
Right.
well, if it's not going to swim away,
I guess so.
yeah, yeah. So
How
he
big were
ate
the
that.
rocks then that you were pulling in?
Good fish. The biggest ones were probably close to a pound.
Wow.
Yeah, they're big rock bass on that lake
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
nobody
I know.
keeps them, so you just
Right.
keep throwing them back
Yep.
in. But
Exactly.
yeah, I'm sure that there's some pound and a half, 2 pounders out there, but I wasn't catching the real big ones. There's been some where
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, look at the size of this rock bass. So it was a good time out there. And then uh we went out and I was like, I don't really know where the walleye are. I don't know, this water temperature
Yeah.
is kind of
Still
like,
throwing you off.
yeah, it's kind of like on par for springtime now, but it also went from 49 to 62 in 2 weeks.
Right.
So I'm like, where the hell are we?
Right.
And I just started trying to find the fish and the walleye, and I ended up catching two walleye, but they were small. So I was like, okay, well, we're kind of, like
Mm.
I'm catching some
Something.
fish, so we're
Yeah.
in the right area.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
then what we did start catching consistently were actually like really good sized perch. Like there's not jumbo perch on that lake,
Mhm.
but for this lake, I mean, we were pulling
Yeah.
in good perch after good perch, and we ended up with 15 perch total.
Holy shit, that's how many you
Yeah.
had, dude? Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
saw those perch in that photo and I was like, God, that looks delicious. Yeah, they were
Yeah.
good. I was very, very like I just saved it. I didn't really say anything over text when you sent them. I was like, yeah, dude. That's kind of all I
Yeah.
said over text. But yeah,
Yeah.
I saw those perch and I was like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
That looks good.
Yeah. So it was like 15 perch. Those two walleye we caught and threw back right away because they were too little.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a northern or a pike, whatever you want to call them,
Yep.
um, bite my line off. And
Oh
that's
shit.
pretty obvious where you like set the hook
Right.
and you barely feel a tug and there's just nothing there anymore. You go, oh, sweet. That was a northern. So, and then after that, I tied on some leader material, which I hadn't tied on yet, where it's
Right.
fluorocarbon, but it's just a little bit more abrasive, a little bit stronger stuff, hoping
Mhm.
that if I caught another one, um, it wouldn't give me any grief. And
Mhm.
no luck. Tried a couple different baits, and um, yeah, I went bigger with it to see if I could catch some bigger fish since I got some smaller ones,
Mhm.
and I wasn't able to put anything in the boat. But the jig and the minnow were catching the perch consistently.
Hmm.
So we had a good weekend overall. Didn't necessarily accomplish the goal of figuring out what the walleye are doing right now, but when you're catching fish, it doesn't really matter. It was like we didn't really
Yeah.
want to switch it up too much,
Well, let
because
me
it's
ask a
like,
question about the perch and the walleye though, because perch and walleye are related. And we should.
Yeah,
I don't think. No, we haven't done a full podcast on perch yet, but we will. we gotta. I
sure.
want to. But they're related, and you said you got small walleye. Do you do you read into that, like reflecting back on it now as we're having this conversation? Do you read back at it and be like, huh? I wonder if there's something to perch and walleye, and like maybe there's a mix here that I can read into or
So
something.
so actually they're they're very similar, and normally they're kind of like located in the same areas.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
because I was catching small walleye and I was catching big perch, I'm pretty positive there were big walleye in the area.
Okay.
But for whatever reason, I wasn't able to figure out what the big walleyes were eating.
Mm-hmm.
And it's possible that
Mm-hmm.
the walleyes were out there munching on some of the smaller perch, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe I just had to go a little bit bigger or
With your
something like that.
presentation.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer was. I
Right.
was not able to get a clear-cut answer, but I think
Yeah.
I was in the right vicinity.
Yeah.
You know, like
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah, for sure.
and we
Like you
just
were hitting the target, but you just weren't hitting the center of the target like you hoped.
right. And because the crappies were biting well, we could see the crappies, but not
Mm-hmm.
necessarily get them to bite constantly. So
Okay.
it was a little bit more slow going. Like they weren't very aggressive in trying to feed, but
Mm-hmm.
they were there. So it was
Mm-hmm.
almost just kind of like you just put it where they are and wait and hope, because we could watch them literally swim up to the minnow
Yeah.
every once in a while and
Yeah.
like get super close
Yeah.
and then just turn around and swim away sometimes, and you just be like, dang, come on, dude, just eat it. So that was a little bit slow going, but we knew they were up there. So didn't learn a whole lot about the walleyes, but because we were catching the perch and we knew we could catch the crappie, we didn't spend a whole lot of time on it.
Yeah.
So we just caught what we could, had a fish fry, and then now we have
Nice.
a bag of crappie and a bag of perch
Hell yeah.
in the freezer. So we got definitely
Nice.
2 more meals when we're up there, which
Right.
kind of makes it nice too, because sometimes I feel like I'm almost like in charge of providing for the family because people want to eat fish. So
Right.
now
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I got two meals in the bag. So now I can go out there and try to
And explore.
and explore and investigate more instead of
Right.
being
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
well, I
Go
got
out
to
on a
catch
learning
supper.
mission, and yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
Okay.
that was the weekend in a nutshell. We did well. Oh, and my son um got to experience the taste of defeat for the first time. So since we'll tie it in with the whole first rod, he's
Yeah.
got a monster fishing rod. I can't remember exactly what it's called. Some pun with a monster, but it literally has like a monster's face on it. If
Oh.
you go to the Instagram page, there's a picture of him on there. I'm pretty sure, where I was trying to teach him how to cast and do all this stuff in the yard, and he was
Okay.
like setting the hook on one of them, and he's kind of like mean mugging. So it's like a blue and orange, like the reel is orange
Uh-huh.
and the rod is blue, and he had a good bass on there, man. Like it
Oh,
was
no
like,
way.
yeah, we never got it in, but it was a good, like maybe 3.5 pounder, and it was fighting a little bit, and I'm like, dude, it's a good fish, just keep going. And he's got like a one to, it's the old school, so it's like a 1-to-1
Yeah.
gear ratio. So
Yeah.
I'm not worried about him horsing it in. I'm like, just keep cranking it. But the line is kind of old and brittle, and it took
Oh.
one run and it snapped his line.
Oh.
And then he's just sitting there, and I'm just like, dang it, dude, he broke it. And then like I'm kind of sitting there, and I thought he was just kind of like staring out into the water reflecting. And then my nephew was in the boat and could see him from the side, and he's like, he's crying. And then I look around, and he is like pouty lipped, just like crying. I'm just like, oh, it's okay, dude, we'll catch another one. And he's just like, I don't want to lose my bobber. I'm just like, we'll get the bobber back. And I think it was a little bit of a combination of both. Like, didn't want to lose the bobber, but at the same time, it was like, I don't want people to know that I'm really bummed that
Right.
monster fish just got off. So
Right.
I'm going to
Because I
make it
wanted it.
about not, I don't want to lose my thing,
Right. Uh-huh.
So,
Uh-huh.
but then immediately, not immediately, but like when we got back, I did take apart his little tiny reel, put some
Yeah.
legit monofilament on there, and then
Nice.
got everything. Yeah, so like for next time, he'll have a setup that shouldn't snap the line as soon as the bass takes one run, because it was in open water. It wasn't like it took him down in the weeds and
Yep.
whatever.
Yeah. Like you
So
knew just because of where it was hooked up and everything, right? Like you knew.
yeah, where it was hooked up, and like it does have a drag. Like it shouldn't have snapped it that easy. It was like, damn, dude, I wish I would have known your line sucked this bad. Like I knew that
Right.
it doesn't come with great line
Right.
on a little kid's rod, but
Right.
that broke way too easy. So yeah, and then when I took the line off too, I took the line off, and when you get to the reel where it's tied on, the knot there, dude, I'm like pulling off line, zoop, zoop, zoop. I get to the end and it just goes snap, like I barely touched it. And I'm like, oh
Oh,
my god, this
no
line
way.
is terrible. Yeah, so I'm
Just
like, well,
under what
that's
you would have considered normal pressure.
yeah, where like I just get to the knot, like it shouldn't have snapped. It
Yeah.
shouldn't have just been like tink, but
Just
it was
instead of just pulling out more line as you expected, it just snapped and all of a sudden you have nothing to grab onto again. You're just looking at your hand like,
well.
what the
I was
fuck? Where'd it
trying
go?
I was trying to get the line completely off, but it was like the end knot. I was expecting it to be like a little bit of tension, and then I'd have to
Right.
cut the line.
Yeah.
And instead the final knot just snapped like it was nothing. And then I just go,
Right.
well, that made it easy for me, but proof
Right.
that this line sucks shit. So yeah, got like a legit 8-pound monofilament, nothing like too much, can't go too big on those reels because that'd make a problem.
Because
But
they're
yeah,
small and
his
yeah.
first rod just had a reel break off. So tying into it, I
Yeah.
don't know if you like if you're
No.
cool with just
Yeah.
jumping into it.
Yeah, no, I already wrote
I
down that we started the first like that we
yeah.
started that.
So,
I put the little timestamp on here because I'll probably
okay.
timestamp
Okay.
that. I'm counting that because we're gonna get
Sure.
into we got time. Yeah, we're gonna get into other parts of like now and what you're thinking going
Yeah.
forward and stuff like that. So yeah, please go.
Okay.
What do you got?
So my first like little
Oh.
kid rod. Oh, what?
Oh.
Yeah.
I just had to play
Sweet.
the sound because I forgot when we actually started with the weekend update. But anyways,
Sure.
so yeah, you're
So, um, my first rod, I don't remember too well. I know that I had like a Snoopy pole, and I
mhm.
want to say that it even came with a bobber that was like Woodstock sitting on the doghouse. Or
No
some
way.
yeah, some weird shit like that.
That is some crazy shit.
Yeah, but I don't remember it very well. And I didn't fish too much when I was younger, when I was a real
Right.
little kid. I do remember that I would catch the fish, or even so, I wouldn't fish so much, but my dad would catch a fish and he would be like, do you want to see the fish? And I would say yes, and then I would give it an M&M and a sip from my juice box and toss them back.
That's
And
right.
just be like,
Yeah.
here's your snack, here's your juice, go on your way.
I
But the
think that's how I
first
came up with this topic on the like why
oh,
I had it written down. It's because you've told that one before and I was just like,
yeah.
okay, that's weird. I want to talk about that
It
more.
is weird. My son never tried to do any shit like that. So I don't know what the hell I was doing. But the first rod that I remember that was more like legit, what I really started learning on was a 2-piece ugly stick light,
Oh,
which is made by Shakespeare.
yep.
Super durable rod. My dad never really knew a lot about fishing, but we did watch a lot of fishing
Mm.
on TV and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and they had the ugly sticks commercials, and they would grab the end of the rod, like the tip and the bottom, and they'd have this like jack dude. All you would see is his arms, but he'd bend it so the two ends touched, and they're like, it's the strongest rod out there. And I'm like, hell yeah, that's
Hell
what I
yeah.
want. So like that was the first rod I bought with my own money.
Oh,
And
nice.
then I don't
Like,
know
how
if it
old
was
were you
another.
when you did that? Like, because this is, I'm not saying it's not childhood because it is, because
Yeah.
you didn't really start seriously fishing. But anyways, how old
Yeah.
is that?
I
Do you
mean,
think?
it was I was young.
Yeah, I mean,
Um
I still consider like 13, childhood,
that's what I
15.
was gonna say. I'm in the 12 to like 14 range,
Mm-hmm.
somewhere in there, because I don't know exactly when I bought that first rod, but that
Yeah.
I know that's what I was using. And then I had a quantum spinning reel. So
Oh, because you bought you had already gotten into the rod and reel separate, or like you jumped
yeah,
right into a rod and reel separate purchase sort of
yep.
situation. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible that I bought the combo and didn't like the reel and
Oh,
then went and
sure.
spent some money on a quantum. I can't remember for
Yeah.
sure,
Yeah.
but I remember the majority of my time being spent on that quantum spinning rod with the Shakespeare. And that's when I started like learning how to fish like weightless flukes and stuff.
Okay.
Cause I was in that small, it was like a 14-foot Lund with the 3 bench boats. I have
Mhm.
no trolling motor. I would row with the oar. And then with that rod, I would cast out the fluke and I'd go pop, pop, and I'd let it fall.
Mhm.
And then I'd get like a bright colored one or a white one where I could see the bait. And then I
Mhm.
couldn't see the fish even from where I was at. And I just wait for that thing to disappear.
Mm.
When I saw it disappear, I know something ate it and I would set the hook.
Right.
Just like
Nice.
I loved fishing the calm, sunny days, and I still do
Right.
for that reason.
Yeah.
And the banjo minnow,
Oh, dude,
the
that thing
ban
was huge. Like
the
my
banjo
dad was a
minnow.
sucker for those fucking uh pay per view commercials,
Oh
whatever they're
yeah,
called. Infomercials. There
yeah,
we go. My dad was a
yeah,
sucker for those, man. He was buying shit off of there all the time, and the banjo minnow was gnarly weekend TV.
yeah. The banjo minnow, like I was a believer in it from day one. I saw a bunch of infomercials and I thought it was all garbage for a long time. There was a lot of stuff I saw and I was just like, that is trash. And when I saw the banjo minnow, because of the way the hook goes into the nose and the way they pull it,
Yeah.
like it does move like a real fish and then dies. And I was like, damn, dude, the way that looks. And then
Yeah.
they would hit it on the fall every time.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what you do with a fluke, except for the
Oh.
banjo minnow, the hook is set up different. So I learned everything from the banjo minnow initially, and I was like, this thing really works, and that's how you fish it. And then then it hit me. I'm like, the banjo minnow is just like a cool gimmick where it has a different hook setup and it has everything else. But
Mhm.
that's when I really started putting it together. I'm like, all this stuff already exists. There was just this guy that
Mhm.
was smart enough to market it as something different.
Yeah, and market it. Like you said,
Yeah.
the key word there
Yeah.
is market it. Yeah.
Hmm.
That's right.
Yeah. So then I started learning that after, because you couldn't just go buy one color, you'd spend
Yep.
$40 on the whole set and then
Right.
you'd lose your like 5 favorite color 2.5 inch long ones. And then you
Right.
go, yeah, maybe the 3 inch ones will work. And then you're like, well, I'm out of all the good colors and the good sizes.
Yeah.
What do I do now? And then you go to the store and you're like, oh, damn, these flukes are like the same thing. Oh,
Yeah.
shit, I bet it would work if I used a worm. And then you just start going like, oh my gosh, my mind
And
just
that was when your
opened.
mind just, like, exploded?
Yes. And it was like the banjo minnow showed me the way because I was too young to learn any of this other stuff on my own. So I learned what one thing was. But then it was like once I got there to put all these pieces together, it's almost like I became part of this like you know, for lack of a better term, it's like this fishing fraternity where I get in there and I'm like, I
Mhm.
understand it now. And everybody else
Oh,
is
yeah.
like, yeah, we've been here the whole time.
Right, right. You
We
just
saw
got
the
suckered
banjo
in
minnow
by
come
some guy with good
yeah,
marketing, but that's
exactly.
cool. I mean, however we get you in.
Yeah. Yep.
God,
But
we
yeah,
told our
that's,
fishing stories, but this all sounds brand new to me. Like one of our first few podcasts, but I just like I don't remember the detail of the banjo minnow and stuff like that. And I feel like we skipped over the Shakespeare,
yeah,
the fishing
I don't
rod.
know if I really ever like broke down the rod. I think it was more of like the bait and how I caught the fish and everything. So it's interesting to go back to that. Yeah. Because I had that. And then I know too that back then there was when I started fishing, as you, I'm sure the same thing. There was no YouTube. There was
Right.
no way of just going out and like finding out this stuff.
Well, that's how the
So
banjo minnow worked.
right,
That's why the ugly
exactly.
stick worked on that gimmick, like you
Right.
said there, like that's that
And
gimmick. Not
yeah.
that one's a farther stretch than the banjo minnow for me to call that one a gimmick. I
Right.
Right.
It's not,
Yeah.
it's just definitely like it's not a gimmick. It's like their claim to fame. Like
Okay.
it is a super tough rod,
Right.
but it's
Okay.
not sensitive like the other stuff. But
Yep.
as far as the money goes, dude, it's hard to beat that when you're looking at like this is a
Mhm.
$30, $40 rod and it's super durable and it works well.
Yeah.
It's hard to beat that. And now they have the ugly stick carbon.
Mhm.
So they've kind of moved into that like higher class
Right.
set of rods. I have one. That's what I was using the drop shot on this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a bad rod at all. It's
Nice.
pretty light. And I don't know if I'd say it's the best thing, but for the money, like it's hard to beat it. They
Sure.
make decent quality stuff.
Right.
Um, but yeah, so that was my first spinning setup, and then I remember that I went out and I bought before I even knew how anything worked. I remember that I went out and bought a bait caster, and I had like
Mhm.
the spinning rod. And I flip it over and I put it on there, and I'm like, this just feels weird. Like I'm trying to
Oh,
put the
yeah.
bait
Okay.
caster, and I'm
You
like,
told this
damn,
before.
you gotta put yeah, so you gotta get a whole different rod set up for that. So I made it work, but that was a Cabela's Black Magic, and it was a cheaper bait caster, and I hated it. I don't think my dad ever showed me how to adjust the knobs to make it like every time I tried to cast, I backlashed, and I was like, this thing is garbage. Like every time, it's just horse shit. You cast, and it wrecks itself every time. And then like later in life, you're like, oh, there's a whole bunch of adjustments that need to be made. This is not like a spinning
It's
reel where you just open the bail and cast it. Like you
yeah.
need to adjust it for every single bait. It's not a
Right.
one and done deal.
Yeah.
So
So it
so
was a
that was
big
my
learning curve.
not just a learning curve, it was a whole get over the fact that these don't suck. It was like it took me
It was a whole learning
later
moment.
yeah, it took me later in life to watch more videos than what we had been watching. You watch the
Right.
Linders and you watch Bay Winkleman. Like for the most part, those guys were out there fishing for walleyes with spinning reels. And I'm like, why would I even use this? The pros that I watch on TV are not using this stuff.
Mhm.
And then you start watching the bass tournaments and how they're casting and everything's going well. And I'm just like, damn, dude, that seems real efficient with the crankbaits where they're zipping it out there, reeling it up, zipping it out there. And I'm like, maybe I should try to get back into this. And then when you look into it a little bit more, you're like, oh my gosh, that reel might have been decent, but I literally think I threw it away. I was just like, fuck this
You
thing,
got so
dude.
mad at it.
I was just like, I can't believe I went and wasted $40 on this thing. And now looking back on it, I'm just like, I can't believe I spent $40 on a bait caster. It's like the
Dang,
worst.
you got a good deal.
It seems like a good deal. Some of them aren't bad. I've
I mean,
had
yeah, it could
some.
have been a complete piece of shit, but so you
It
look back
could
at
have
that,
been.
like, you look back at that and you're like, "Damn, I kinda wish I still had it to reminisce
I
or give it a
do.
shot, like, give it
Yeah,
its
give it a
real
shot.
due." And,
Yeah.
with your to go all the way back to the Snoopy one because that I had a DuckTales one.
Ooh.
Yep. Mine was a red DuckTales one, and I Googled it. I was like,
Yeah.
let me look this up," and it said it was, like, 82, 87. I'm like, "Nah, they made that into the '90s. There's no way." I did like, I swear we had that rod brand new, but maybe not. Maybe we
Oh,
bought it really early. I don't know,
got it on
but
the
I mean,
gas station. Got it on
clearance.
uh no. We could have got it on clearance. Yeah, maybe it'd been sitting in the store for 3 years. Just hadn't sold that one, but I don't know, maybe could have got it on a garage sale or something too. You
Yeah,
know?
maybe. Maybe.
I have no idea where my rod came, like the early rods came from. I don't remember that shit at all. I just remember what I've what I've been told.
Yeah,
So
it's
I
all what
don't.
you've been told.
Yeah.
I remember mine, but that's why. But before I do that, because you said that spinner, you were like, oh man, it's kind of one of those situations you look back on and it's like, it'd be cool if I had a distiller, sort of. Do
Yeah.
you? Because I collect video games, right? Like I look back and I have like the original Zelda that we had back in the day, like the
hmm
'80s copy of Zelda. It's legit. It's been in my family since like the day it came out, basically.
Damn, that's
I love
crazy.
it. Um,
Is that the gold cartridge or no?
oh yeah, fuck yeah, I got that and the
Yeah.
second one. I got
Hell yeah.
Legend of Zelda N2 Link. Yep.
Nice.
Uh, and yeah, I had them as kids. That's when I started playing them. But the point, not Zelda yet, is I was looking up my Ducktales one, and I was like, yep, that was definitely it. Like that's my memory of it. I didn't think it was that old. It's kind of weird. I wish I had it. I
Yeah.
wish I still had it now. I don't
Yeah.
like it'd probably be a rusty, cracked up pile of shit, but I don't know. It'd be cool to see where it is.
Yeah.
Do
Yeah,
you
I mean, depending on what it's made out of, if it's like fiberglass, it'd be like a little bit. You could tell it was old, but it probably looked like it's in decent condition.
yeah. I'm worried about the reel and like the
The
actual condition,
inner,
the
the
bearings and
gears and
stuff like that
stuff,
would have
yeah,
probably been
probably won't.
garbage. But
Yeah, probably not.
do you look back at any of the childhood stuff and wish you still had it?
Oh
Just
yeah,
for the collector reason, maybe even?
yeah. To just be like, oh, that was the first one, like
Yeah.
all that stuff. I don't know what I would really do with that first rod. I don't think I really need to have that. I might still have that first rod.
That ugly stick?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a chance that ugly stick still exists, and I just don't use it. There's I got
Right.
like 7 rods in the corner of the garage
That just sit there?
that I don't use. Yeah, so it's like maybe it is one of those. I don't know, but
It's interesting.
that first quantum would have been cool because that was a little bit different too. Just because now the spinning reels are like so light that you
Mhm.
don't have to have it, but this one had like on the handle there was like a counterweight on
Oh,
the opposite side,
okay.
so you would crank it, and it wasn't like a some of the bigger bait casters. Well, not some of the bigger bait casters. Bait casters have 2 handles. There's a crank on
Oh,
both
yeah.
sides,
Right.
but this one was almost like that, where it was like a little jut out, but it was just a weight, like to counterbalance the other side.
Oh,
And I don't know if
really?
that was like to stop vibration because of the weight of some of the stuff or what.
Huh.
But spinning reels don't have that anymore.
Right,
At
yeah, I
least
don't
none of
even
the
know what you're
ones that I
talking
see.
about, but
Yeah, it's just like the crank itself, where the handle like goes to where it goes in the reel to like make it put. This one just had like another side that stuck out a little bit with a weight on the opposite side of where
huh,
you put your hand to crank. It was weird. So yeah, I
interesting.
wish I had that, and like you said, that Black Magic one. Um, if I had it now, to be like, could I have learned how to do this a lot earlier, or
Mhm.
was this real garbage? Which one was it? And
Right.
probably it wasn't that bad. I mean, I don't know 100%. Most of that Cabela's stuff, that was back in the day too, where I'm like, the Cabela's is a good company. And it's just like, well,
Right.
Cabela's doesn't make the reel. Who made the reel?
Right. Yeah.
Because that's the same thing, Shields has their own line of reels. And
Yeah.
I think Iowa makes all of them.
Okay. Yep.
So it says Shields, but it's a Daiwa reel. It
Yeah.
literally says like Shields by Daiwa. So
Right. Yep.
I don't know who made that one, and I would really like to give it a shot and see if it worked well because I have a Fluger, um, which is the same brand as Shakespeare. Fluger's like the higher end version of Shakespeare, not by
Mhm.
a lot, but they're the exact same company. And I have a Fluger where I want to say I spent like $69.99 on the combo, the rod and reel.
Mhm.
And that was the first bait caster I bought after that to learn on. And
Oh,
that Fluger was the shit.
yeah. That's a big difference probably.
Yeah. I did not like that rod, but that reel was great.
Nice.
I still have that rod. Honestly, I still have that rod and reel. Those two I have.
Nice.
And I've had for a long time. But that rod is like, I don't know. It's it's not good for a lot of stuff. I think I had it set up on like a trolling deal where I just like drag something,
Yeah.
like it's good enough to fight a fish. That's kind of what it got down to. So
So, well, I'm going to talk about my Ducktales one again quick because I
yeah,
googled what I thought it was. And I was
yeah,
like, I think I'm pretty sure it was Zebco because I had a
Mm.
tackle box that outlasted it. And that's why I remember
Oh,
the
sure.
name.
Tackle boxes last forever.
Right. Yeah. And so I Googled it and it was like, oh, it was a Zebco. Holy shit. Awesome. So I totally nailed it. And I think I couldn't believe that I remembered it. And before we go down the Zebco thing, I just want to say, like, they weren't like this anymore, but mine came with a practice caster, like, little weight thing. It was
Oh,
made out
yeah.
of
My
rubber,
sons too.
and it just had it was like a heavy, like a,
Oh,
it
like a
had
teardrop.
yes, and it had a solid rubber base on it, and it got smaller as it went up, and we just tied that on, and I remember casting that thing all the time because I got it caught in the big tree in the front yard several times.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
I swear it came with that thing. Now, again, maybe we did get it at a garage sale and that was just something that the person we had before. But I didn't see that Zebco came with that anymore. But
Oh,
there are ones out there that do. And I think they
my
were Shakespeare
son's
ones that
my son's monster one
did it.
had a weight, but it was shaped like a fish.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what the Shakespeare one had
So,
too. What brand is
dude,
your son's again?
it's some monster something. I'll look it up real quick and let you know. I just
Yeah.
wanted to
Yeah. I
let you
didn't.
know that I checked. My Snoopy pole was also Zebco.
It was.
It was a yellow one, and now that I'm looking at it and I found the bobber too, I was wrong because my recollection was like whatever. And now that I see this, I'm like, that's 100% what it is. And it's a Snoopy Ketchum bobber, and the bobber was Snoopy himself.
Nice.
Yeah,
Like
so I
it was Snoopy. It's just the white and black dog.
yeah,
That's kick ass, dude.
yeah. So I had, and it's a yellow rod, and
Hmm.
it's just a little Zebco, but that's 100% what I had.
Yeah. See, so Zebco
Damn,
was
dude,
in that early
this one
fishing
says
game
Snoopy
then.
vintage fishing rod, 1958. So I don't know if that's the
Dude.
same rod that they made for all those years. That's
Or
crazy.
if it was a garage sale situation again. I don't know. But yeah,
I don't
no, it's
know,
the
dude.
same thing. I mean, mine was, I know, within 10 years, yours would have been, 30, uh, 30 or
Yeah,
40
I mean
years old, but
it's possible
sure. It's
that it
surely
got
possible.
passed down. I have to ask my parents, like, did you buy that or what?
I know. You should and find out. It would be really interesting to know because it's crazy when you go back and look, right? And you see it and it just goes, yeah. So I like that your sons came with the practice casting because that's why I have such
Oh,
a good memory of mine. And that's when
yeah.
I hit the Zeb to hear yours is a Zebco too. It's like that must have been who was making fishing rods at the time and they knew they needed to get those licenses and that was a great selling point. Um,
Yeah. So I looked up real quick.
yep.
Shakespeare is who makes, and it's called Catch a Monster.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the
And they
ones I
make,
saw too, because the one I saw was there were several of them, but the one of them that comes up really high in Google searches, of course, is the frozen one, and it had the little fish weight on it.
oh,
So yeah, it was for sure the
yeah.
same thing then, and it must be Shakespeare that's keeping them going because everybody else that I saw didn't have that little practice weight casting thing, and I loved the shit out of mine when I was a little kid. Again, that's why I have such a good memory of it because I remember just casting that thing in the driveway. I
Yeah.
just remember that red DuckTales Zebco and just and casting and jamming it up because I wore out the line.
Yeah. And I think for some reason, I like not trying to brag or whatever, but I feel
Yeah.
like I graduated past that really fast.
Yeah.
Where I was casting out the weight and I'm like, why am I even doing this? You know, like asking my parents, even like I have that recollection
Uh-huh.
where I'm just like, nothing will bite on this. And they're like, it's just practice. And I feel like I'm just like, I'll practice with the real thing.
You're like, I'm good at this. I don't know why I'm doing that
Yeah,
already.
I can do this. I can throw a ball. Like I
No, I
don't
don't
know.
take that as bragging at
And
all. It's just that
yeah,
it's the way that different learning techniques are different ways that people just are kids. I was playing. I just found it like a toy almost, and I think you saw it as you saw it for what it was already. I think you probably just had that. There's something in you. It feels like to me, where you're just
Yeah.
like, "Nah, I get this, man. Let's go fishing."
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Um,
I don't know, man. I just don't remember casting that one a lot. I do remember casting like real lures a lot and getting hung up in the yard where I don't know why the fuck I thought that was a good idea. Like, no, I'm gonna cast a real lure.
no,
Put
it
the hooks on it.
literally gets stuck in the ground. Fuck.
Yeah. So I don't know. But I do remember doing that, casting that a lot. I don't know. I still do that sometimes where it's like getting close to spring where
Yeah.
we have like a traditional spring where all the snow's melted and I can't go fishing yet.
Yep.
I just take the rod out and cast whatever's on there. Hopefully it's just a jig that I can launch across the way and
Uh-huh.
know that it won't hang up on much. So,
Just to get a cast in, just to get that body feel of like,
yeah,
yeah.
I just gotta get a couple in. Like it's getting close. Zzz. Yeah, pretty soon we're gonna be on the water doing it. Zzz. So
So since we had the same, I mean, we had the same kind, different color, different like licensed character on it for our like early childhood. What the fuck kind of reel is that, dude? The button and you
oh,
can't. What is that? What the hell is that thing?
it's called a spin caster, and you can actually buy
Okay.
pretty expensive ones
Yeah.
nowadays.
I just didn't realize
Yeah.
that because we've talked about spin cast. I believe we really hit them in the iCast. I think there was quite a few times.
Okay.
I'm just really remembering this that we've talked about
Yeah.
the word spin caster before. I didn't put the
Yeah.
two together though. I didn't know. They don't look like
Yeah.
that anymore.
So well, they make them. They make them
But it doesn't
because
have DuckTales stamped on it anymore. How the fuck am I supposed to recognize
oh,
it?
that's true. Yeah, they
I'm kidding, but
Johnson still makes some good ones. You can get nicer ones from Abu Garcia. I think there's a
wow.
couple different countries or countries. There's a couple different companies where you can spend upwards of $100, if not over $100 on one of those. Where
Damn.
it has like yeah, because I think it has like legit gears in it and stuff, so you can fish just like anything else.
Yeah. And it's still
Um,
press down the thumb, cast out thing?
yeah, hmm
Huh.
yeah, it's kind of crazy. So I don't know if they changed the mechanics in some of the newer ones, but the unique thing about those is uh, I don't need to get into the full mechanics of it,
Yeah, no, not
but
here.
basically you have it's completely enclosed, right?
Yeah.
And there's just a hole on the
Yep.
top where the line comes out of.
Right.
So there's only so much space. There's a tiny amount of space between the in it's like a spinning reel on the inside for the most part. You
Okay.
know, there's still that spool,
Right.
and then there's a top piece that is metal that actually lifts up when you hit that button and
Okay.
it kind of pulls. So there's a little metal prong though that pokes out of the side. So
Mm.
when you reel it and you feel and it clicks, that's
Mhm.
popping that metal prong out. And because there's only so much space between that spool
Mhm.
and the outside casing,
Okay.
it doesn't let the line go anywhere. And that prong is almost touching the outside wall. So when it comes around, that prong is catching the line.
Oh,
And that's
and
what reels
spooling
it.
it up.
And when you hit, yeah, and when you hit the button, it makes that thing retract. It makes
Oh.
that little metal prong get out of the way. So it comes off.
So it's free spooling after that, like when you
Yeah.
throw it.
Yep.
Holy
Yeah.
shit.
And so that's why when you hold the button, that prong is still out, but it's kind of like the click of a pen.
Okay.
Like when you click the pen in,
Yep.
that the ink part is still out, but when you let go of it, it retracts.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of same
Weird.
idea of when
Yeah.
you hold the button down, you cast, when you let go, it will retract, it'll cast out, and then when you reel again to click, that thing will pop back out. So
That's fucking complicated.
yeah,
That's
it's
pretty crazy.
and it's not the greatest. There's a greater margin of error. There's more room
Right.
problems to happen. Like if the line is
Mhm.
pulled at a certain way, like all of a sudden,
More
if
parts.
if that metal piece isn't super strong and you're fighting a relatively large fish, it can just kind of like pull it right past it.
Mm.
And then you kind of, some of them where there's a gap between the two and the rod gets a little bit shittier,
Mhm.
you'll be fighting it and you can literally feel it kind of go like tink, 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 tink. And it's like every time you feel that tink is the line pulling
Oh,
past that
yeah.
prong that's
I used to
supposed
do
to have
that
you.
every time I got caught in the tree with the practice casting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yep.
You made the perfect sound to make my memory just go, "Oh, I got that." Yeah.
Yeah, done it before. Yeah. It's pretty accurate. I think that's a better impression than my Cleveland one was. But yeah,
So,
that's
oh no, what? What were you gonna say?
oh no, I was saying like that's what it is, and I'm guessing the mechanics have just been like greatly improved in the expensive ones, that you're dealing with
Oh
something
yeah,
where
right. Like
it's all
the
that same stuff with high quality components,
right,
and there's
and
probably
machined
like
within so
no
many millimeters of this,
right. Yeah, there's probably like no gap whatsoever. Like
right.
that prong when it comes out is like right up against the cage. Like there's no room for anything to go through. And it's so perfectly engineered when you're spending that much money that you don't have to
Yep,
worry about any problems.
right.
So
Okay, before we move on to the next like part of the, you know what? This is going to take us right up to the random take. So that'll be before we move on to the random take. Okay, I want to
yeah.
ask you two things. Did
Okay.
you do you know what's on the market now for kids reels? And the second is, did you do a bunch of research? Well, do you know because you did research for your sons?
Yes, I know what's out on the market now,
Okay.
and it's my sons and my nephew. So my nephew was a
Oh,
little bit
right.
earlier than that. He's
Right.
getting into like the real rods, and I know because my son is like in the same boat. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And
So the when you do an internet search for it, Kidscaster by Proficiency are like the first things that come up. It's
oh yeah.
it's crazy.
Yep.
You know, right away you knew, and I was like, I don't recognize
Yeah.
this brand, and then I saw their Crazy Reel.
Yeah, they're the crazy color company basically is
Yeah, and I was like,
their
oh,
claim to
okay, I know who
fame.
this is now.
Yeah.
They have a
And
sub
I
brand
don't
called
know.
Kidcasters, and it's just like a whole bunch of kid stuff, and they have some good licensed stuff.
Okay.
They do a lot of licensing and stuff like that. It looks
Yeah.
decent, but like 15 to 20 bucks, and I'm like, it doesn't can't be that
Yeah, it's
good.
not they're not cheap stuff, and I will say that there's a lot of proficiency stuff on the clearance racks.
Uh,
And I've never used them myself. I don't know what that means. Not trying to shit on them. I don't want to
no.
say that they're a bad company. It does seem like they're kind of like, here's our bright rods. And I was seeing a lot of ads for a little while where they were just like, we need to get in with influencers that will
Mhm.
say like how good this stuff was. Cause I was seeing a lot of ads where they're just like, Proficiency just sent me all these rods. And I got to say, these are the coolest rods I've ever seen. And it was like all people inside their apartment, like nobody actually doing any
Nobody was on the
fishing with
water.
them, just people saying like, look at these things. So
Right.
um that being said, yeah, Proficiency's out there. um Damn, dude, I can't think of it right now. There
Well,
was another
Zebco
company that
is
was
still in the kids game, dude. They look like
Zebco.
that shit
Zebco.
look good now though compared to what we were
Yep.
fishing with. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, they got good looking rods and reels, and I think most of the companies have a a smaller version of something your kid could use. So depending on the age,
Yeah.
you can get like the 1,000 size reel or the 20 size reel or whatever it happens to
Oh.
be, depending on the different companies. So you can get them small little spinning reels if
Uh-huh.
they're
Yep.
uh, ready for that. The only hard part about that is that you're physically holding onto the line. But to
It
get
can
them
be.
used to, they make spin casters that mount to the bottom of the rod like it's a spinning reel, and
Mm.
it has a finger trigger.
Oh,
So
cool.
it's that same idea. I
Right.
think I think Daiwa makes one.
Okay.
I want to say it's called the Turbo.
Okay.
So it's
Interesting.
the same. Yeah, it's like a spin caster. And I think there's a couple of different brands that make that. Shakespeare might have one like that too. I can't
Mm.
be for certain, but I know
Mhm.
that at one point in time, I had a reel like that where I thought that that would be cool, and I was younger, and I know that one didn't last very long. I was like, this is the same garbage that it was before, and it was just mounted on the other side. So it's those aren't great. Like,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, they're cool to be like, here, get the feel of having it on the bottom and start learning how to cast like that, with your finger on the trigger. It's a good starting point.
Yeah.
Um, and then they make, um, I don't know if Shakespeare still has some of their lower end stuff, but they actually make one of the spinning reels on Shakespeare has kind of like a trigger on the bail where the
Oh.
line comes out,
Uh-huh.
and you reel it, and as you reel it, the bail spins, and if you put your finger down it, it'll spin right to your finger, and then you just pull on that trigger, and your finger's
Oh.
already holding the line just from pulling that trigger. That trigger opens the
Oh.
bail, and the line's on that trigger, so it's kind of a nice little like intermediate learning.
Yeah, like a teacher, like a good teacher tool.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's cool.
So there's some different stuff out there, and it's bugging me because I can't. We talked about it in the
Are you talking about 13? Are you going to jump right to the 13? Because I want
was
to.
it the 13 one? Yeah, where
The
it was the
13, the
kids.
ambition?
Yes, yeah, we talked about it in the
Yeah.
iCast
We
episode.
totally
Yes, the
talked about it. Yeah.
ambition.
So I had to find that thing because because to just go back quick, the proficiencies, they're like $15 to $20. And then you go to Zebco and they're like 20 to 45. So you're already like making that jump. And then Shakespeare didn't even really look at prices, but they're in that licensing game. So they're somewhere in there with the Kidcaster market. But then you
Yeah, and
jump
like
to
the
the
Catch 'em
proficient.
Monsters are just their own thing, so it's not all licensed stuff, but I think they're
Right.
around the same prices.
Yeah. Like in that
So
15 to 20 something.
yeah,
Yeah. Yep. So they have their licensing stuff, and then they have their like the monster things that you're talking about. And then yeah, you go to the 13, and that's what I was just going to say is like you so you did your research and you're like, it's not worth it right now, but
yeah,
w- where does 13 now that they're in like the kid game, cuz that is a small, it says for the little homies. Like it's literally in their market
yeah,
material.
yeah, yeah.
I had that quote written down, and that's a $60 setup, which is not too bad for a really decent
No,
rod reel combo
yeah,
because it's a combo
yeah,
and it looks cool as fuck.
yeah. It does. They look rad, and $60, like that's a pretty decent combo for a kid. Like that's way nicer.
Bring your hand into your camera. It went out of focus when you had to lean away for your cough.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That fix it?
there we go. Yep.
Okay, I can't see nothing. Sorry.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know. It didn't come back on. That's why I didn't like when I cough too. Sometimes we have a cough button inside baseball, and I can't hit it right now because I can't see anything. So this might be the most. This might be the most in it. That I can't think of the words right
The
now.
like staring into the camera.
Oh, I've just been. That's all I got to look at.
Right, right. So you're
I
just staring
got
at the
a
camera.
monitor.
Yep.
So I'm in it right now. Yeah, the ambition
The
rod.
ambition.
I think that should be a nice setup. Like that's what I
You would
was.
think
I had a
so.
13. I had a 13 fishing. The smaller rod of the Creed, I believe it is the reel on that ugly stick that I was fishing for.
Mhm.
Um, the panfish. But
Mm.
that reel by itself is $50. It's not anything too expensive because it's a smaller, like I use it for pan fishing and stuff.
Sure.
Like you
Yeah.
can spend more, but I was like, I don't know. I'm good with, that I don't need to go crazy. I don't need it to be super lightweight. And it's like I'm not tournament fishing here.
Right.
The panfish will I'll do good enough with what I got. I don't need to go spend all my money on the panfish rod. So,
Right. What
um,
do you think that the ambition is going to be something that you're going to get?
there's a possibility.
Yeah. But
We'll
that's like a
see.
ways out, right? I mean, a 5-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we're just learning how to cast with the push button.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's got it. He does a pretty good job.
Mhm.
But um yeah, I don't know if we're ready to try to do the extra step of
Yeah.
holding the line, opening the bail. I feel like it'll just take forever.
Right.
Plus the tangles. The nice thing about the spin caster seems to have a little bit less line twist
Hmm.
than the spinning,
Mhm.
but maybe that's just because the spin caster gets used far less than the spinning,
Mm.
because I think it's almost the same mechanism of how it's like reeled in. So I don't know why
Right.
it would be that much difference.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just not noticing it because I use the spinning rods a lot more. But there's definitely issues that could come with it, like when there is, maybe it is that there's the line twist, but the way the rod itself is structured, it doesn't come off the reel. Like my nephew will get the line twist, and then when he opens the bail, more line comes off than you want. It's just kind of
Mm.
like foo, foo, foo,
It
foo,
kind
foo,
of opens up like
yeah, because there's some memory in the line twist that
right.
wants to just kind of like spring off, where that enclosed, I think maybe it's not letting it come off as much.
Right.
So that's one nice thing when you have it closed and you don't have to worry about all that line shooting off, because then every time they open the bail, which is what's happening with my nephew right now,
Mhm.
that you got to go and help him like with these tangles. And him and my dad are both just like, yeah, every time, what do we do? Like, get new line. That's really your
Get
only
new
option
line.
at this point. You gotta your line sucks. You gotta do something about it. You got gnarly line twists, and you're not coming back from it. Get new stuff that's not all twisted.
Get some new shit.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, speaking of
So,
new shit, let's get into the random take then, Tim. We're going to jump over to some video game talk. PlayStation had a big presentation, and you sent me a reel on it, and
yes,
I gotta talk about that for a little bit here.
hell yeah.
And we're gonna talk about Zelda because you got Zelda. You have your copy
Oh,
now. Go back, listen to episode
I got the
69.
shit out of Zelda.
If you want to hear about Tim's struggle and my successes about getting Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, go to episode 69 and check that out. We are going to jump over into the random take now and take a short break
Yeah.
in case you don't know. And
And if you don't
see you back
know,
here.
now you know.
That's right. See you back here in a second for some video game stuffs.
Yeah. Come back for some stuff, you street toughs.
Yeah, dude.